So I've been waiting for today for about 3 years, ever since I tried the Oculus Rift DK1 at Leo Bodner's workshop near Silverstone. That was the very first time I'd ever tried out virtual reality, and in fact we tried it on iRacing as well. And from that moment, yeah, I've really been waiting for today. I have used the DK2 then for about 18 months, something like that. Put in many hundreds of hours into iRacing using the DK2, but I can see why a lot of people felt that it wasn't, good enough for something like iRacing, for sim racing. It was hard work. The resolution, wasn't really good enough to compete at a, either at a high level or just, even if you're competing for fun, to feel like you're not being disadvantaged in some way. Brake markers were tough to see. Apexes, short apexes especially, were perhaps a little bit tough to pick out at times, just where you couldn't see far enough down the road. Now here we are finally with the Oculus consumer version, the CV1, and I've fired up the Formula Renault 2.0 at Spa, and I'm just going to give you my first impressions of using this new headset. So first off, just in the cockpit itself, obviously, I mean, this all feels familiar to me in terms of the sensation of it. I mean, it's you really obviously do get the sense of being in this tight composed cockpit, but just to give you an idea as to say the resolution and how many details I can see from just the normal driving position. Got the dash here on the steering wheel. I can make out all of those numbers with not too much effort. I can see what all of those are actually telling me. What I can't see, without leaning in a second, is the description just below each of the numbers telling me what they are. So, and in fact, because of the bounding box, I can't quite get to the point where where that information is sharp anyway. So on the DK2, I wouldn't have been able to make out those numbers at all, I'm sure. So that instantly is a nice visual difference for me as to the improvement on resolution. And sort of looking around now, I can't see any screen door effect. There's no visible gaps to me now from between the pixels like you saw on the DK2. All there is just a very slight shimmer as you're turning your head. But what I want to do is start driving and just again give you some ideas as to maybe how much I can or can't see as I'm driving down the road, and again to give you a little bit of that difference compared to the old DK2. So we shall get going, I think. When I fired this up a few minutes ago, I was finding I was getting just a little bit of stuttering in places, but that's just going to be where my system's just struggling to cope with demands put on it. So I just need to do a bit more optimization. Getting a new graphics card at the end of this month, so hopefully then we'll be able to bump everything back up again. Still no virtual mirror, of course, so we'll see if in the future iRacing give that option to virtual reality users again, and whether we see that in. But for now, it's not going to be the case. In terms of the overall picture quality, it feels like there's sort of no anti-aliasing on. That's the sort of effect that the lower resolution gives, but I'm not missing any actual information from the circuit. So before, it might be difficult really even to spot a brake marker as you're coming up quick to a high-speed braking zone, whereas now that's just not going to be a problem at all. I can see all of the information that I need to quite happily. So again, let's slow up before we get to this bridge. At what point am I going to be able to comfortably read what the sensor section says? There you go, so the white on blue there, the centre of the bridge, this is the point where I can comfortably see actually what the information says on it. Whereas perhaps back to maybe here, now that's, I can make out the shapes of it, but I wouldn't like to say I can really actually make out the letters themselves. So again, that's the sort of distance that you'd be able to see that more detail with. It's going to be interesting to see what difference my new graphics card will make when, as I say, I get that at the end of the month. So there's various options with the graphics card rendering at a higher resolution compared to what's actually displayed, and that has the effect of really sharpening up the images, certainly in examples that I've seen. So it'll be interesting how much of a difference that is going to make. But I'm really happy now that iRacing have got this support in for CV1. As I say, this feels like virtual reality users are no longer going to be at a disadvantage with the resolution or anything. It's still, of course, only the first generation, so we're still going to get much more of improvements over the years, and eventually we'll get to the same sharpness that you see on a high quality monitor. And it's obviously just not there at the minute, but it's going to come, and this is the first step, and it's definitely a big step up, I feel, especially for a simulator like iRacing compared to DK2. Right, I think perhaps I'll just do a lap where I shut up, and you can just see me driving around Spa for a lap.
Spot that entrance for me.
Oh, now that was going so well until I just wasn't concentrating and completely blew by my brake marker. Anyway, so there's no stuttering actually particularly visible on that lap until now. This bit of the circuit always historically has been the more intensive with all the pit and paddock area around. But yeah, that's just my first thoughts on CV1 with iRacing. I'm not going to really... there's plenty of videos out on YouTube already about the headset in general, so if you want any more information and opinions of things, then there's lots of other videos out there already. But suffice to say, it's much easier to set up than the old one. It's much more comfortable. Yeah, win-win. If you've got any more sort of specific questions or anything that you'd like to see, then feel free to leave a comment, and I will try to answer those questions. But otherwise, that's my first thoughts on CV1. So thank you very much. Cheerio.